Picture this. A journalist says something on a live stream, and it leads to his arrest. His entire digital life just gets erased. And then, out of nowhere, a random computer glitch brings it all back. Today, we're going to unpack the really strange story of Ukrainian blogger Jean Novoseltsev, and we're basing this entirely on his own public account of what happened. So imagine a journalist with, a pretty big following, over 170,000 subscribers across his channels. Then one day, his videos, his entire platform, it's all just gone. Wiped clean from the internet. Well, that's exactly what happened to Jean Novoseltsev. So what on earth could cause a voice like that to be so completely silenced? The answer, it turns out, starts with just one live stream. The whole thing kicked off with a discussion about a super sensitive topic in Ukraine right now, how the military finds new recruits. But it wasn't just what he said. It was how his words were apparently interpreted by the authorities that set everything in motion. Okay, so at the very heart of this whole controversy is this term busification. It's a new word, a neologism that basically describes this practice of citizens being, forcibly taken right off the streets, put into buses, and then sent off to recruitment centers. Novoseltsev was talking about this, questioning if it was legal and if it was even effective. During that broadcast, he said this, quote, "You are creating an army of serfs." Now, that was the one line that authorities reportedly grabbed onto. But according to him, that single sentence was pulled out of a much, much larger and more constructive argument he was trying to make. And this is where you can really see the disconnect. On one hand, Novoseltsev says his whole point was that an army of unmotivated conscripts, this army of serfs, is just not a winning formula. He was arguing that to actually win, Ukraine needs a highly motivated professional fighting force. But the official charge against him? Well, that was much simpler and way more serious, obstructing the legal activities of the armed forces. So what he saw as a critique of a method was framed as an attack on the entire institution. So once that charge was on the table, the consequences came, and they came fast and hard. The system's grip tightened, and what started as a conversation on a live stream turned into a physical lockdown, all in a matter of days. So get this, a few months after that broadcast, agents search his home. They take everything, all of his journalistic equipment. That very same day, he's taken to Kyiv, and the moment he arrives, he's put directly into a pretrial detention cell. He spent 3 full days there before he even got to see a judge. And the conditions he described inside, they sound psychologically grueling. The light in his cell was never, ever turned off, 24/7. There was an air raid siren mounted right outside his cell so it would just blare during alerts. The tap water, he said, was brown and totally undrinkable. And for 3 days, he had absolutely zero contact with the outside world. So after those 3 days, a judge finally set his bail. The number was 240,000 Ukrainian hryvnia, which is roughly $6,000. I mean, with all his equipment gone and his income cut off, that was a huge amount of money to come up with. But this is where the story takes a pretty amazing turn. His followers, his friends, his supporters, they just jumped into action. Small donations, some as little as a single hryvnia, started pouring in. And in just a few hours, they had raised the entire amount. And not only that, but over 50 people actually showed up at the courthouse just to be there in solidarity. Okay, so here's a crucial point that Novoseltsev keeps making. He says he wasn't just criticizing a problem, he was trying to offer a solution. He really believed there was a better way to build a motivated army, and his plan was actually rooted directly in the country's own constitution. He pointed right to Article 13 of the Ukrainian constitution. And this article is pretty clear. It says that the country's land, its minerals, its natural resources, all of it, is the property of the Ukrainian people. He argued that this isn't just a nice idea, it's literally the law. So his plan was pretty straightforward. Step 1, you formally activate Article 13. Step 2, you take the money generated from national resources, like oil and gas, and you distribute it. Now, step 3 was the real kicker, the key incentive. Soldiers and their families would get their payments immediately. And then step 4, all the other citizens would get their share, but only after the war is over. It was a plan designed to give soldiers a direct, tangible financial stake in the victory they were fighting for. And, we're not talking about a trivial amount of money here. Based on calculations from economists that he cited, the monthly payment for each citizen could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000. And his argument was pretty simple. Isn't that a much better motivator than being pulled off the street and shoved into a bus? So after he was released on bail, Novoseltsev was still silenced. His legal fight was just getting started, and his main way of communicating, YouTube, was completely gone. But then, something genuinely bizarre happened. A real ghost in the machine moment. For months, he hit a total brick wall. Every single appeal he sent to YouTube was rejected. They told him that not only were his channels permanently deleted, but he was actually forbidden from even showing up as a guest on other people's channels. It really seemed like a complete and total dead end. Then, according to him, a complete accident changed everything. He was just switching between his Google accounts, and he clicked on the icon for his old deleted channel just by mistake. A pop-up appeared saying, "This channel is deleted." So he goes to close it, right? But then a second pop-up appears, and it warns him that if he closes the window, he's going to miss a brand new, previously unknown deadline to appeal. It was this strange one-time glitch. So he seized the opportunity, wrote a quick, simple appeal, and just sent it off right then and there. And on October 17th, it actually worked. His channels were just back, fully restored. But what's even crazier is that he told his colleagues, other journalists whose channels had also been deleted, about this weird method, and for them, it worked too. An entire network of silenced journalists came back online, all because of what he says was just a random software bug. So Novoseltsev is back online, which is amazing, but his whole ordeal is really far from over. That legal case that started this entire chain of events, yeah, that's still very much active. As it stands right now, he is still facing that charge of obstructing the armed forces, and that carries a potential sentence of 8 to 10 years in prison. Now, in a good development for him, a judge recently sent the indictment back to the prosecutor's office, basically saying it was insufficient. But for now, he's back to broadcasting to his audience with this really serious legal threat still hanging right over his head. Novoseltsev's story, from a single live stream comment to a prison cell, and from being totally deplatformed to this bizarre accidental return, it really raises a critical question for all of us in this day and age. When these global platforms we all use become battlegrounds, what is the future of free speech?